So there is wisdom in a careful approach to the world when it comes to what we believe and what we take in. How come? Everyone is trying to sell you on a story, on a version of the world or a vision of reality. You could be scrolling on social media and you are getting thousands of stories of, someone's worldview every single day. And that's a cool thing because we're in an age where we can be open to really cool ideas and people and thinking and thoughts. And, we can expand our minds, I guess, if you look at it that way. But there's, of course, a carefulness that needs to be involved because the way that people are able to, package those stories or maybe hide certain details of reality, they're accentuating certain things, diminishing other things. We just have to be careful of what we take in, and especially as creatives, if all we're doing is just receiving whatever is being told to us, we are being told to believe something and we just accept it. We're not actually showing up in our unique God-given gifts. As creatives, we've been given this task, if you will, to share stories, to help share other people's stories, to take our ideas and express them in creative ways. And if all you're doing is just sitting back and receiving these ideas and these stories and not sharing your own, you're not fully walking in your purpose. You're not fully doing what you need to be doing, helping others along the way. I think that's key. Growing up, I would say that I don't want to use the word manipulation, but growing up in specific types of religious contexts, as I look back, I question the motives of the individuals or the approach that was used to express a certain belief, a certain worldview, a certain expression of religion. And I think oftentimes we might assume people are being malicious, that they are trying to hurt us. They're trying to, by telling this story, by telling this version of the world that omits certain things or, bends the truth a little bit, we might think that they're maliciously doing that, but I don't think so. I think most of the time people are hearing stories, accepting them as truth, and then regurgitating them in their own way. And so when we receive those, it's like a game of telephone. We've received information from over time that's just slowly shaped. It's shaped by culture. It's shaped by individuals and personalities. It's shaped by the context in which we are hearing the story. And so that leads to some interesting things, right? It leads to fractions and division, but it also can lead to opportunities like the age that we live in today with technology and so many tools that we have to express ourselves creatively or to share our story, to share our ideas with other people. We're in this age where we can do that with little friction, little obstacles. And so, as I think about stories and what we choose to believe and how those things are packaged to us and the cautiousness that we probably should have some of the time, also knowing that people are trying to trick us and manipulate us, but the average person is not thinking fully through that idea. As creatives, we need to be showing up. We need to be showing up with honesty, with integrity, with good intentions, knowing that we have a story to tell for the purpose of helping other people. I think that's the key part, is when we're using stories to help other people, we are able to unlock a part of our creativity, right? Creativity is great when it's you and your creative gifts, or you're using it to connect with the creator. But it should be for someone ultimately. It should be able to be received in a way. And so the stories that we tell through our creativity are really important and really powerful. What's the most impactful or powerful story that you have ever heard? What pops into your head when you think of just some story that has had a real impact on you? Maybe it was as a kid, you were read a story, maybe it was through movies. I know for me, my algorithm right now is a lot of Lord of the Rings. And so I'm watching kind of these comparison videos and analysis videos of the books versus the movies, and just being reminded of how amazing and powerful those stories are and how they have shaped so many different aspects of our world today in storytelling. What is it for you? What is a story that has just totally captured you and you think, wow, whether it was through the way that the story was told, the medium that it was represented? Often I think the most powerful stories are they're somewhat simple, but they're true, and they are just presented in a way that really impacts us emotionally, right? They're speaking to our emotions, things that we've experienced, things that we have felt. Stories shape our beliefs. You know this as a kid, when your parents would tell you something, you believed it, right? There was no reason for you not to believe it. I think many of us, we were raised with this idea of Santa Claus. Santa Claus was just like existed. I remember getting to an argument with a friend. We were like right on the cusp of that age where like you just kind of stop believing. And we had like an argument because it was Christmas was coming up. And that was the first time where I was like, wait, logically, this doesn't make sense. There's one guy who goes to all the houses. It's not possible. And I had a friend who was arguing with me like, nah, bro, why would they lie to us, right? But yeah, stories shape what we believe. They shape how we see the world. You've experienced this before where you're talking to someone and you realize you are on totally different algorithms, totally different news sources. I'm sure you've experienced someone who really they just get their news from like one type of source. Maybe it's from one channel on the TV if they're a little bit older. They listen to like one podcast. It's someone who maybe they podcast or live stream every day, and they're in the ether. They're in that system. They're engaging with this one content creator every single day, and it's like, oh, interesting. That person is selling you. I don't always mean that negatively, but in this case, I kind of do. They are trying to sell you on stories, on ideas. And when you narrow what you're going to receive, that's going to impact you. That's going to make you a much more shallow creator, make you a much more shallow person as far as what you're able to take in and then how you are expressing that in your own creative ways to the world. So, you know, whether you feel like, oh, I've diversified what I intake, or it's very limited, I'm very filtered in what I allow in, wherever you're at on that spectrum, stories are important because they shape what we believe. And so taking all of this to why it matters is that stories that we believe, or essentially stories that we accept, lead us to action. They lead us to doing something. They lead us to like showing up and saying, hey, I'm on board with this. Or hey, no, I'm not on board with this. I'm going to do something about it. That is what is so important because it actually shapes how we live. It shapes what we do and how we spend our time. It also can shape us into inaction, right? A story could lead us to not do something at a critical time when maybe we should. It could numb us. I think a lot of what social media does is it's this numbing, or it's a distraction of just saying, hey, think about yourself, think about what's going on in your own life. And it's blocking us from being able to see things beyond ourselves, important things like caring for other people, looking beyond just our own wants and desires. There's a lot of stories that are just directed at you and you're choosing to accept them, and it's leading you to inaction a lot of the time. But as creatives, when we're looking at action, it's like, okay, what am I going to do with this idea? What am I going to do with this story? You can either reshape that, filter those stories that are coming in, or I think just the best thing to do is be be mindful and discerning of what's coming in. These stories that you're hearing, these stories that you're receiving, are you going to accept that as truth? Is that going to become part of who you are and then lead to action? Or are you going to kind of be a little more wary, a little more discerning of why that story is being told the way that it is? I have basically 3 applications that I want to share with you. The first one is, what story are you telling? What story are you telling with your gifts and your creativity? Because as we receive all of these different stories, there's also the story that we are telling, whether it's through our words, but specifically I'm thinking about what we do with our creative gifts and talents and how we are expressing those and sharing those with the world. What's that story? Is that a story that's helping people? Is that a story that's tearing people down? Is that a story that is just focused on you? Or is that a story that's outwardly focused? And, when it comes to the inward outward, there's no right or wrong answer, but just be thinking about that. What are you actively doing? Whether it's something that you haven't acknowledged up to this point, or you have been paying attention. Oh yeah, this is the story that I'm telling. This is how my gift is going to help someone. And that leads me to my second point, is basically, are you helping people through your stories? Are you providing them value, helping them along the way? Is there a struggle that they're facing and you're providing that with your unique gifts and talents? How are you leading them to action? What are you asking them to do when they encounter your art? What are you asking them to do when they encounter what you've created? And my final application for creatives is, in the stories that you are telling, who is being left out? Who is not invited into the story or into the conversation? This is often something we are doing unknowingly and often unbiased. Like it's not a thing that we're actively trying to do. But is there a type of person or a group of people that are being left out? And maybe that is something that, your specific creativity and your art is for a specific group of people, specific type of people. That may be the case. But unknowingly, are there people that you are leaving out? Are there people that are pushed to the sides, pushed to the margins, that you're essentially kind of doing a disservice to by not creating art that includes them in the story, that somehow is helping them where they're at? You're helping a certain group of people, but not another group of people. It's just something to be mindful of as we receive stories and take those in and try to walk out stories of our own and share those with others. We need to be mindful of how it impacts everyone if we want to be the type of person who's creating for people, for others, and doing that in a helpful way. So this is just kind of what I have been wrestling through, just this idea of stories and how amazing they are, how powerful they are, how they shape us, move us to action, and so many different things. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. I'd love to know what you thought of this whole idea. Have you thought of stories in this way before? And do you feel like stories are just something that have been passive for you, or do you actively try to filter what you receive? But I hope this helps you in your creative journey. Thanks so much for watching, and stay creative.